In this video, I'm going to make a public awareness while it's raining and it's evening regards England and many European nations that make it legal to kidnap children and to punish women for the crimes they never committed because of a divorce, a domestic abuse, and the death of a father, which is an injustice. So this video, I'm going to look at opening the subject of being unfairly punished for the crimes that should have been on my daughter's dad, not me. It goes to show that my daughter's dad had all the contact he wanted. He reduced the money for children allowance, maintenance, and he specifically wanted to see his daughter from his previous marriage. I was his third or fourth wife, but he refused to see his son, which is another indication that he's a pervert and a child abuser. There isn't a law in England, United Kingdom, that has an agent similar to a childminder or some type of surveillance for parents that are divorced, particularly for the opposite sex. So the father taking care of the daughter or the mother taking care of a son in a divorce, dysfunction. So he got up to no good. And God confirmed it to me in the Holy Spirit and in the Holy Bible, a profile of a child abuser. And it had devastated me. And because I look Pakistani, Arab, that's from a distance, strangers can't even bother to look at me properly. They would assume that I'm some type of a pervert from a distance, having dark hair and dark eyes, because I was not aware of the fact that it is a fashion in England to target foreigners in England for demoralisation, to frighten the foreigners in England by demoralisation or demonisation, so that the foreigners in England leave England. They don't remain permanent. And I had no idea until recently. For the first 5 or 6 years or 7 years I've been on social media, I have learned something new. That there is too much hatred and too much stigma and stereotype attached to so-called foreigners living in England. I don't see myself as a foreigner. And yet, because of the fashion in place, the natives just disregard the fact that I've lived in England since I was a child, small child. It was as if I had turned up in England only yesterday. And it's continual attack, character assassination. You're an economic migrant and you're very poor. And why are you an economic migrant and you're very poor, so you can't be an economic migrant? It's disgraceful that that should be the fashion. It started off with Nazis doing that sort of thing. So they are tyrants, worse than Nazis. So, because they've done that to me, and they've done so much horrible, torturous and tormenting and tempting things to me as a target, God will do the same to them, exact vengeance. Make a stereotype and a stigma and a fashion to say that if a man is a skinhead, he must be a child abuser. Let's see the statistics for that, shall we? He's a paedophile. He would demand that his wife shares of her minge. Let's make a stereotype against the bolder skinhead. It's very rare to have men that would shave their head for the purpose of charity and love and being humbled. Instead, he does it for his ego. He wants to be a skinhead, a smooth head. I suppose to attract whatever he wants to attract. A shaven vagina that looks like a little girl rather than an adult. They're the ones that must be humiliated. They're the ones that we should make all the migrants living in England, the rich and the poor, should make a stereotype against the skinheads. Make a stereotype against children's social services who kidnap children from the migrants living in England and racially profile us and destroy our social media, delete my photographic evidence, delete everything. They've deleted everything. They've destroyed and hacked everything. These evil mother effing FFs. Perverts. And they did it for money. And this is the reason why I'm very suspicious of bold men. Not bold men. There's a difference between bold men and there's a difference between a skinhead man. But even bold men, I'm very suspicious that he's probably racist. Even if he has black skin or white skin or whatever skin color he has, if he is weak or sick or frail or fragile, for his ego sensitivity, he's more likely to discriminate or be racist in the wrong sense. In the secular world, not in a Christian world. Because we don't live by carnal flesh. We put our spiritual body before the physical body. I'm talking about the secular world. Regardless of the skin color, if he's bold or skinhead, he's hypersensitive when it comes to ego. And he's probably attracted to the blonde and the light hair woman. So the extreme of being a skinhead or bald head and or having very long hair, sort of shoulder length hair, same thing, hypersensitive ego. To external beauty. Even the anointed of the Holy Spirit, the so-called Christians, was deceived by external beauty such as Delilah, and Samson. He was hypersensitive to external beauty. And as a result, external beauty became dangerous and shaved off his hair and destroyed his strength. So it's very, 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 very bad for the secularist and the humanist. It's also as bad for Christians in the example of Samson and Delilah. It's probably worse for Christians who had to denounce their faith in God because of physical appearance of someone. It's very bad. The other reason why I am not comfortable and very suspicious of any blonde woman is that she is politically protected. She is a populist because they're saying she has light hair, so she's probably cleaner, and dark-haired women look dirty, which is horrific. It's probably the other way around. She has worse body odor, she has more hormones, and she has more bad everything. That's the obvious that makes me, oh, get away from me. I don't want to sit next to you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to look at you. Get away from me. Get away from me. It's like being allergic to blonde women. Because most of them marry for money. They marry for an opportunity to progress in their career, or they don't get married. They have casual sex so that they can always be showing off and dominating, which is often worse than murder. To be a show off, to be bragging. The Bible calls her, with all her men that she's surrounded with. When I look in the library, it's nearly always showing the dark-haired woman. Very rarely does it show the blonde woman on the dragon with many horns. But she was the one that invented bad racism in the first instance. And many black supremacists. Actually, black supremacists are worse than white supremacists. Or we have Machu Picchu for that, and other ancient lost civilizations who were black supremacists. So the devil knows that black supremacy is dominant. The devil also knows that there is unholy supremacy, there is also holy type of supremacy. And most people are not aware of that fact. They feel guilty if I say I am better than you, then automatically associate, quote, I'm better than you for arrogance and for something evil and bad. But there is such a thing as supremacy, being supreme. I am better than you, quote, because of a holy perfection, not because of an unholy perfection. That's not anyway in the education system. It's missing. It's in the holy books. They've destroyed the lives of those better than them. There's two types of beauty, there's two types of ugly, there's two types of everything. The Chinese and the Asians say yin and yang. I believe that it was the blondes, the white supremacist. No, I believe that the black supremacists were more wicked and evil when it came to executions and when it came to making genocidal wars. And they were more dangerous. Since God was ashamed, because God himself is black, God is greater than the angels, or in charge of all the angels. However, does God have a multi-skin color feature? Or is God a mixture of all races? That God was so ashamed because the foundation of the race is white, or is it black? Because there's no darkness in God at all, so therefore white is the base of all the colors. I don't know why God had decided as a creator to destroy all the black supremacists as the lost civilization. It could be that God was so ashamed of them for the evil that they did. Could be. I don't have the statistics. I don't know everything. I know God does, so God would have the true statistics. Who is the worst supremacist in the bad sense? Is it the white skin or is it the black skin? Or dark brown? There's different shades of dark skin. I don't know. There's many tyrants in Asia, tyrants in of black people. There's all types of tyrants from all types of nations. I don't know everything. However, in the history records, there's more evidence and there's more history that tells us that it is the whites who were the slave masters. And it was the white who made me a slave into the systemic abuse. Three times the size of me, who injected me with 115 injections in 2008. She was blonde and blue-eyed. So that's the main reason why my mother used to dye her hair blonde all the time, and she would complain that she wasn't a natural blonde. She has green pale eyes. And I've been abused a lot by my mum as a child, and her sexually by her boyfriend when I was only 5 and 6 years old. The fact that I told this to my husband, who was bold man, the one and only I lived with. I didn't live with anybody else. I told him in private. I didn't tell anybody else. There was not a single soul that I told, except for him, and sort of very briefly told my auntie in Cambridge, where I was living for 2 years before being sent to a boarding school from age 9 and 10 and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then I was officially homeless because my auntie didn't want to take responsibility of me being abused as a child. And she allowed my cousins to abuse me and to boast and brag that they could stay at home, but I was forced to go to boarding school. It was very scary. And I had to do some acting and pretend that I wasn't scared. And I laughed at them and said, you see, you're the one who's more scared than I am. And they were not allowed to stay as a 7-day boarder. And they quickly came out as a worst hypocrite. So I have 4 cousins in Cambridge. They had a normal upbringing. They made me an outcast, rivaled against me, because they said I had dark hair and dark eyes, and I looked similar to my dad, and my mum was very close to my auntie in Cambridge. So both of them are racist towards me because they said I looked like my dad, which is maddening, sickening, that a parent would treat their own one and only child like in such a horrible way, horrific. Which is a bitch. It's a witch. Similar to Cinderella, but worse than Cinderella. And then after being in a boarding school as a 7-day boarder, I was homeless. And then after being homeless, I ended up with a Catholic foster mum. After being with a Catholic foster mum, I ended up in a prison building block of flats surrounded by criminals. After being in a building block of flats, I ended up being married to a paedophile, a monster, who was a real monster from Hollywood. Well, Paramount Pictures. And then after I divorced for 4 years, I never had anyone live with me since. He was the only one. And he was a bastard, a real human dog. He made my worst fears become my reality. His psychological baggage of 3 other wives, he took his frustration out on me. And when his son died at age 17, no, he was 16 and 17, because he refused to see his son from his previous marriage since he was a baby. I told him to see him. Since he felt guilty, he then wanted to shame me and take his revenge out on me by abusing my daughter, or our daughter at the time, and I wasn't even aware of what he was doing. He was being a pervert. And he was the one who phoned Children's Social Services, told the authorities that it was weird I had no family, and that it was weird that I didn't know any other adults. So the fact that he told them that automatically had demonized me. The authorities in response replied that he didn't do anything derogatory. However, he did in many ways demonize me because of not having the capital, being an outcast of my family, an orphan type, not driving a car, not having capital, not being able to work and take care of a baby and be tortured with 115 injections. It was as if I had 10 babies. That's how bad it was. And so then he died. He designed suicide, death. He died. It wasn't natural. It was designed in 2012. And then Children's Social Services kept knocking on my door. Twice I won. I got rid of them. The third time I couldn't win. I couldn't get rid of them because my daughter's dad was no longer involved. He was dead. I couldn't get rid of Children's Social Services. I had a Kelleher. Disgusting surname. Try not to be disgusted. Who insulted me, who injured me, and added insult to injury. Ignored my medical records, ignored my sicknesses, and beat me up black and blue with her dragging me to court, which was a fake court, which is a rigged system, and then it became a real court all of a sudden. And then the Children's Social Services had overpowered my solicitor and lawyer. I was so close to winning, but then they threatened my lawyer and they did death threats on me. So I don't need this. I sacrificed so much for my daughter. I gave her so much. I was ready to die for her. Her every breath, everything she did, I did to keep her safe. And her dad knew that I wasn't overprotected. I wasn't smothering. However, I did keep her safe. I abstained from sex with other men. I gave her a solid, stable foundation and home. They ruined my reputation with total fraud, every big bundle, legal fat book of lies. So they overnumbered me, they overpowered me legally. So if I had friends and if I had family, they wouldn't have done it. Since I don't have friends and don't have family, that's how they got away with it, this crime. And they bribed my daughter and said she would be better off without me. And the Bible says that I could find my future lover who could help me get her to buy her back. But do I really want to buy her back? Or do I want to argue with God? Say, no, I don't really want to buy her back. After she's been brainwashed by a witch bitch. She herself has become a bitch. That little horn that's always boasting and bragging, the most evil person on the face of this planet that's become a tyrant. Do I really want a tyrant back in my life? So I would argue with God and say, God, the Bible can tell the future. And my future is in your hands, God. But I don't have to do everything by the letter. I can say no. That's where free will comes in. What if I find a lover in the future and he offers to bring my daughter back? And I would say, no, I'm against her. Don't buy her back. Go and buy an orphan instead. because my daughter's soul is lost. That's not my daughter, that's a bitch. They've sold her soul to the devil. She doesn't remember anything after so many years of abuse and so many years of lies and so many years having my ex-mother-in-law breathe on her, touch her, eat her food, sleep in her bed. That's not my daughter. That's been corrupted, defiled, ruined, child abuse. They're the child abusers. So the taxpayers' money, these conservative thugs who are perverts and obscurants of my justice, making smear campaigns against my life on social media and get away with murder. As for my Christian so-called friends, they turned a blind eye and had a better day. So as for Americans and the allies of America, as the example of former President or current President Donald Trump, the right government influencing, was it Farage? Was it Farage? Farage? Is it Nigel Farage? They're all buddies. And Boris Johnson. They're all as wild dogs. So therefore, they're going to influence England and America as wild dogs. Oh! And Putin, but he's not really a wild dog, is he? He's more of a wolf in sheep's clothing. There's a difference between wild dogs in Alaska and wolves. They're not the same. The wolves are supposed to misguide you, mislead you, if you don't do what the leader of the pack wants. So they always have this leader who is the boss. Wolf in sheep's clothing does that. You can't have two bosses. So you have the wolves in sheep's clothing. They will devour and destroy the weaker link. That's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Compared to the wild dogs. They also have a leader, however, they work as a team. And so that's why there's this conflict with the Western world and NATO versus the others from, is it the communists? One is wild, the other one's domesticated. And no one should be forced to choose left or right because both sides are my enemy. Anyone who is not a Christian is an automatic enemy because they put the flesh, their carnal, first. They don't put the spirit body first. And that's another reason why I don't vote, because it does the opposite of Christianity. It puts money first, it puts the flesh first, it puts all types of egotistical bragging first. So I don't vote. Not only because I'm a migrant and because I'm persecuted, but I just generally don't vote because of them being the opposite of Christianity. It's an offence. But if I was working, however, if I would pay the government taxes, and I would try and choose to vote for those that would reduce the taxes for the working class and increase the taxes for the very rich. To be fair. but I would still pay the taxes. So since I had been tortured and tormented all my life, this is why I am the way I am. So Elijah in the Old Testament Elijah was bold, and bears had come to attack his disability for being bold. So there's a huge difference between skinhead and the bold. So to unite humility and respect to the survivors. So I'm more than a victim, I'm a survivor. Because I've discussed in this video the damage that has been done, my worst nightmares, and evil revenge that his son has died, that he had decided to vent out his monstrosity by being a child abuser, and ensuring that I would never have a future, that I would be so disgraced, so humiliated. The very thing I protected my daughter from is the very thing he had enabled. So my worst fears, my worst nightmares. And to add to the trauma and to add to the child abuse that he did to my daughter, I was punished for the abuse that he did. He was never punished. He died a peaceful, dignitary death on his hospital bed when he had a bypass surgery to his heart. And the heart surgeon had no idea that he had overdosed on pills that he wasn't supposed to take. So he designed his own suicide, and they simply deleted the evidence. So if the government did find the evidence, they would have deleted it. So yes, I had been a helpless victim. Harrowing, deeply traumatic for both me and my daughter. They've taken full control as zombies and hate crime of narcissists, tyrants. If I cannot call them Nazis, even if they were Nazis, they were a mixed breed of vipers of various race, black, white, Spanish, all types. A tyrant is a tyrant, whether it's a Nazi or whatever. So I did not make a trauma bond with my daughter, and I did not invite her on my social media, but the tyrant had copied her voice, had stolen my videos, and put her voice on many advertisements that pop up on YouTube. How is that not a fraud and a scam? They wanted to add to my trauma. So many advertisements for Deliveroo, for example, have got a voiceover of somebody doing an advertisement that sounds very similar to my daughter's voice. But she's in university now, and she said she won't have anything to do with me. She's boasting that she's replaced me with another unholy dog that she's probably shagging like a dog. Or not. Maybe she's become a lesbian. So I'm one of the rare holy dogs with the South. And I would never marry or be romantically involved with a man with the South. Never, 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 because it takes a lot of purging. Neither would I want the South-North, North-South, North on its own, maybe, but not really. It depends on how dedicated and devoted he would be to Christ as the North First Nature. Highly unlikely, because the North are the most arrogant. They're even more arrogant than the South. So it's catch-22. It's a dead end. true Christians are very rare. They're only loyal to God if they have a big family, and then they're not following Christ in a way that they would surrender everything. They would not leave their father and mother and their spouses to follow Christ. And that's another reason why they hate persecuted Christians, and orphans who are holy, but they support orphans that are orphans and outcasts who are unholy. I don't know where the human race has disappeared to. The adolescent mind in the education system and in the professional system is all based on the condition on how much money you have. If you have lots of money and capital and colonial, then you're an adult, apparently. If you have no money and no colonial, you're not an adult. That's so dumb. So what happens in World War III then, if we have World War III? Probably we're all heading that way after 2,000 years or 1,000 years is no laughing matter. There's a cycle of war. It's not the matter if, it's when. And the fragile ego of those in politics and professional will want to make war and be merciless, no compassion. And they are hitting hard on this migration business. They will lie to the back teeth. It's only about the illegal. So what happens if the legal migrants are poor? They're ill-treated and tortured, the same as illegals. That's what I'm trying to say. So the new type of narcissist it has a twin. One of them that is as a toddler, first narcissist or tyrant, abuser type, and the other one that's as a teenager, narcissist, abuser type. Tyrant type. There's two tyrant types in the human race, regardless of what skin color is, regardless of what type of supremacist it is. So the first type is needy, as a type of a baby, adult baby, and is not disabled. It's not tortured. How the hell did it become an adult baby? It's constantly broken, it's constantly traumatized and wounded, and expects you to feel sorry for it through bad drama, to be center of attention, to be either bragging or demanding to be center of attention, a toddler tantrum, protect its materialistic things, always love it unconditionally, or you are intolerant. It will complain that you're intolerant. You have to sniff his or her fart and worship and admire the adult baby. Same as Roger. Same as nearly all of my abusers. Except for my ex-husband, who was as a teenager type. And so it was Chris and Paul, who was a zizi rat, and Roger and the other one who abused me in my hospital bed, called Michael and Roger, as Kiki Rat. So they're addicted also. They have a fragile ego. They abuse their power, personal, professional power. They get hyperactive and hyper excited for being in a position to abuse someone weaker because they believe they have won. So that's the example of a dog type, South disorder. A perverted sunny South, that is a troublemaker. But it is a blatant one, a blatant bully. Very unpredictable dog type. And that dog type is as a wild dog type. However, the wolf in sheep's clothing is mixed with the cat type, which is more type of a teenager, making everything perfected and idealistic. It will turn you into an alien and alienate you if you do not do what it wants you to do. So it's a blatant bully, manipulating, covert narcissist. They say the silent ones are the most dangerous ones. In both extreme of being extra loud, and too quiet. If you don't agree with it, you have an enemy for life. It will want to put you out of your misery. It has invented abortion. It has invented euthanasia. So that's Zizi, Paul and my ex-husband, and also suicide. It would avoid any type of truth. It hates the truth. It loves the lie. It would be afraid if it's not famous. It would frame you for something you've never done or said. It is totally senseless. It will fully take the flight to escape without taking any responsibility. It would force evil on you, and it will say that you're no one special. It's determined, if you are special, it's determined to make you not special, which is more of a type of a psychopathic abuse mixed with narcissism. So it's more, that type is more of a Hitler type. The other one is more of being extreme, too quiet or too loud. The other type is more of a bird brain. Yeah. So the first type of narcissist tyrant, which is a toddler type, is a bird brain. I was a Mrs. Bird Brain. Not really a Mrs., but side chick. And as for the married, not really marriage, not really a husband, but the other type, which is a teenager type, adolescent type, that was a Mrs. Brown. I was a Mrs. Pooh. Oh, that's enough to put me off opposite sex and ever settling down to have a family. I've never had one. So as an orphan and outcast, all I ever wanted was to have a family, and that evil man had abused my daughter and had caused an injustice for me to be punished for his crimes. So he comes from that category, the adolescent type, the more dangerous type of a psychopathic narcissist was my ex-husband Chris and Paul, and my mother's boyfriend who had abused me. So no other man did that to me in my adult life, to force oral sex in me, other than for my childhood abuse. So My husband didn't do that to me, but Paul did, who forced himself on me. Supposed to be my type of a brother. Oh, it's awful to force evil on someone and get away with it. Or to have underage sex. And so this type of rebellious adolescent mind is very common. It's probably more common in the human race compared to the adult baby. It's probably less common, less of a majority. I don't know. I don't have the statistics. I'm guessing. So they've normalized abuse based on the taxpayers. No wonder why they have laws only to suit the tyrants, so that the tyrants are always in the right and the victims and the lone survivors are always in the wrong. You shouldn't have let him in. You shouldn't even trust him 10%. You shouldn't rely on him or her for practical support. You shouldn't make the best of the worst situation. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. All for human worshipping this tyrant. And so they're not being loyal to God as taxpayers and as the corrupt government and gangsters. It's a false government. It's a false professional. How dare they get praise for enabling disinformation and destroying somebody's freedoms only so that the tyrant can look good, or the systemic slave master or supremacist can look good and be constantly praised for the wrongs that they've done. We need to do mental health assessments in them. So my self-worth, my self-esteem, I did what was regarded as right. I had the evidence, but they've deleted all that evidence. They disregarded it. So, of course, I will arguably with God, and say, God, I don't want it back. I don't want the history to come back and bite me on the bum. My bottom is sore enough. It's better for me not to be remarried and remain single for the rest of my life, because all my fears have become my reality. God, I pray and I publicize that I remain single for the rest of my life. Because number one, true Christians are very rare and rural. That means I cannot reach them. They cannot find me and I cannot find them. And number three, I've been humiliated. I was doing the best thing that I could do to do the opposite of my dysfunctional parents. And the government had forced me to be punished for my parents' sin, and to be punished for my ex-husband's sins, and to be punished for my daughter's sins. I can't take it anymore. This is worse than death. Even to the point of making my blood boil and say, God, I'm tempted to say I hate you. I don't want your blessing. I'd rather remain alone for the rest of my life than to go through hell all over again of the thought of the horror of the child being abused when the mother wasn't looking because he wasn't having enough sex. It is disgusting. How did purity win and perversity lose? The reality is perversity has won, enabled by a corrupt government, enabled by a gangster, and a bully and a tyrant. So in the eyes of the world, the populists, the majority political correctness, Jesus is dead, God does not exist, saints do not exist, and perversity has won. and purity has lost. Everything I've worked hard for has been ruined, destroyed, dismantled, all for the sake of a misogynistic man, a man's bruised ego. It's all in their favour. I've lost all my credentials. I am the worst mother in the world because my daughter was abused. I'm the worst mother in the world because my daughter has told lies about me so that she could get more holidays, so that she could have better grades at school. And all of this shite put in me for being poor, sick and disabled, and apparently not English enough. And I feel like screaming at God and say, how can you tell me not to be disgusted? Because purity is stronger than perversity. How can you tell me that? When all my life the witch and the wizard and the evil sinners who are not saints have boasted and bragged about the fact that they're always winning and they're always first seen and first heard. They've got bigger families, they've got bigger tables, they've got bigger holidays, they've got bigger pregnancies. I have very little, and the very little that I have, they want to destroy that too. They already have. They've stolen my landline. Even if it is Saudi Arabia, jumping from Saudi Arabia to America, to Russia, whatever, they can jump here and there. It's still a crime to steal somebody's landline, steal somebody's roof, huff and puff and blow your house down because you're claiming state benefits. So, why don't you go and pick on someone who is an English bastard gambling all day, who wants to grab me by the pussy and rob and rape me? Go and pick on his state benefits, you moron. Imagine me with a pitchfork to spike the devil. I could do that to one person. I can't do that for the whole village. The villain in the village has influenced the entire village. Ooh, the taxpayer, the taxpayer, the taxpayer. I can't get a pitchfork in each and every one of them, can I? Even if I had a nuclear weapon and push a single button to exterminate all of them who have judged me wrongly and caused injustice, even then, I don't think I could do that, because I said I'm not a goddess. I wouldn't want to do that. Even though I know that God will want to do that. Commit genocide against a perverse generation that causes injustice and allows the murderer to go free and the child abuser to go free. Unpunished. Undetected. Yep, blame it all on the mother. Blame it all on the woman who is poor, disabled. Yep, blame it on me. Yep, blame it on me. Carry on. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I don't want my daughter finding this video. I don't want her touching me. I don't want her anywhere near me. Because they've corrupted and destroyed. I've seen enough corruption. I've seen enough destruction in my life. Even to the point of saying, God, I hate you. I want nothing to do with you. I don't even want to be a Christian anymore. What have you done to give to me that belongs to me? Nothing that I have worked hard for belongs to me. The government has stolen everything. My phone, my bank, and penetrated and got through everything, even to the point of wanting me to commit suicide. That's how bad it is. Kidnapping, being falsely accused, having my bank details overseen by Keir Starmer and some other political shite. It's all too much, to the point of saying I would never vote for a government. I would never want to live in social housing. I'd rather live outside with the wild dogs. If that wild dog is Trump, I would run a mile. I'd rather be with the wild dog, an animal, than to be with Trump and Melania on her skinny pill diet. No, I'd rather be homeless outside and walk for miles and hide in a bush somewhere than to have the disgusting and despicable, demented government touch my phone, touch my bank, touch my independence, touch my civil rights, touch my privacy violations, touch my children, touch my Bible, touch my knickers, touch my underwear, touch my toilet, put her googly, disgusting Nazi googly eyes in my toilet. I'd love to shove her head in the toilet and stamp my foot on her head in the toilet until I cut it off. I'm infuriated by the whole thing. The devil has destroyed too much, to the point of me saying, God, I admit I'm too much of a coward to commit suicide. I would never commit suicide. But I will argue with God and say, God, I've come to the point of saying I hate you. I already said I was sorry. You already said you forgave me. And I'm going through the whole thing all over again because of some shitty government that has stolen my social media. Forcing me to live history, evil history to repeat itself, forcing my daughter to be brainwashed and child abused. If it wasn't for the government's intervention, my daughter wouldn't have been child abused. They only made matters worse. She wouldn't have done. I've had enough of crying. I've had enough of grief. It's very bad. It's worse than death. And I want everyone to know what Children's Social Services and taxpayers' money, where it's going to. Targeting migrants in poverty, targeting marginalised people, blaming me and shaming me for not having a job, for being disabled and I can't work. It's not my fault that I'm disabled and I can't work, you bastards. Bitches. Disgusting, perverted witches. Perverts. Pedophiles. I'm so ashamed that I've given birth to a witch. My daughter is a bitch coming from a pedophile penis monster that she admires and worships every day and would kiss his ass. I'm so ashamed. I think I'm ashamed forever. And I am disgusted. God, I don't care anymore what your Bible says. Don't be disgusted because perversity is stronger than. No, I don't care. I don't believe that. It's the other way around, that. The fact that I am disgusted. Purity is stronger than perversity. I will argue. There's some things in the Bible that are twisted. There's some things in the Bible that are not. I mean, I do believe that the Bible has been purified and is there to make judgment right. However, the Bible is there to correct me, and I'm also there to correct the Bible. To say that's not me. That's the devil fingerprint. So the devil's in the Bible as much as God is in the Bible. Because God has given me the free will to say, God, this is not me. This is the devil speaking. So sometimes and some things that are read from the Bible is not God speaking, it's the devil speaking. So I don't care. Don't tell me how to think. So the Bible did say clearly, do not be disgusted with evildoers. And every part of my body is screaming at God, saying, no, don't tell me that. I will be disgusted at evildoers, the scum of society, paedophiles, perverts, obscurers of justice, liars, thieves. There is no room for them in heaven. Excluded. Out. Get out. You're not one of us. Just like it says in the book of Revelation, the last book, and and many parts of the Bibles, it talks about who's going to be excluded. There's no room for them in heaven. No evil allowed. So they forced evil on me, on social media, on my internet, on my landline, in my bank account, all overtaken and overtaken by the enemy. I have too many enemies. There's many parts of the Bible that says that God is alone. So when God talked to me about the God's character in a true lover in Isaiah 54, it's not talking about the divorced man in the government. It's talking about in the flesh. It's talking about the divorced man in the spirit. So it's mainly God being my lover of the abused woman, not human man, gender, male. It's mainly the creator God. It says the creator God. It doesn't say man. So I've been a total idiot and fool to actually believe that I would find a man who is similar to God in character. Very rare. He probably doesn't even exist. In my dreams, I'm happy to be unmarried. I don't want to be remarried. I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life because of what's happened to me and because of being misrepresented on social media. I want to destroy and betray every single one of those dirty bumholes. My bumhole and posterior is cleaner than theirs. So I haven't found anybody on social media except for Sam Vaknin. That was interesting. As a very knowledgeable man on YouTube. But interested in the sense that God told me to, again, see what happens. It's like an experiment. Be extra nice. For what? What for? As an experiment to see what Satan would do. Oh, here we go again. Why do we always have to put the rebel angel and rubbish blondes to be the centre of attention? Or what's Satan going to do? What's the baddie going to do? I'd rather focus on what God's doing rather than stupid, idiotic public profiles that are always constantly the centre of attention. I don't want to know what they're doing. So, yeah, him, and who else was there that stood out like a sore thumb? I think there was one other, but I can't remember who it was. It doesn't really matter. I was surprised about Sam Vaknin. Where would God tell me that? Is it God speaking? Is it the devil speaking? And I admit I was disgusted. There was one other. Who was the other one? There was one other man that I was interested in because God and I were talking and Satan was getting involved. So whenever I talk to God, Satan always pops in. Get out of here. Get lost. So where it says Lord in the Bible, Yah, here we go. The devil's there. Uninvited. Similar to Jehovah's Witnesses that push their feet in the door. Can we come in? Have a discussion? Like, no, get out. Trying to think who it was now. And another thing I noticed what the devil is doing, it wants to repeat the history, so I'd be interested in romance or sex with an atheist all over again. So dunce. And would I be interested in a bold skinhead all over again? No. So dumb. Would I be interested in somebody who has blonde hair and blue eyes? No. Would I be interested in a Serbian man? No. They're all dumb. They're even more dumb than the Englishmen. Would I be interested in a black man? Maybe. No, not because of his dick size. If his feet smell nice and his breath smells nice, maybe. No bad body odour. I've been sterilised so much I could eat onion all day and still smell beautiful like roses. Very little hormones. Would I be interested in a black man? Maybe, but not really. I'm not interested now. I haven't passed my sell-by date. I haven't. I'm healthy. I don't have diabetes. I don't have problems with my blood. I don't drink alcohol. Where if I do drink it, I have it with water, diluted. Very rare. Not an alcoholic, not a smoker. Healthy other than being poisoned. Poisoned in my stomach. Poisoned in my spine. Poisoned in my brain. Poison in my womanhood. Poisoned in my social. Poisoned in my work opportunities. Poisoned all over the place. Because they know that God is on my side. The more I am attacked. And I have to scrutinize the Bible and say, Bible, is that you from God or is it from the devil? There's many sections of the Bible that's actually demonic. And I've just explained what that is. So, the enemy was 5 years older than me. Don't want history repeating itself. The enemy was 30 years older than me. Don't want history repeating itself. I've never dated someone younger than me, so that could be a possibility if it is God's will for me to be remarried. But I will argue with God. I will say no. Because your word says the Creator is my husband. The Creator. The one who created everything. The earth, the animals, the humans, the ocean, the stars. Why would I want a man? That stinky man, you know, that one that causes wars, that causes injustice. Not interested. I'm just happy being alone. Not really alone as I'm doing this video, but people listening to me know what I mean. Having my independence is the best thing for a woman who had been abused. Saying no more rebellious, stinky teenager who's boasting in her whatever. I've died enough of that little brat. It's time that I take care of my own life and take care of children that respect Christ and children that respect their parents. Not horrible children, nasty children where the bitches and bastards totally control. If God wants me to find a man, he will have to do everything I want. Not because I'm a narcissist, but because I want him to earn my trust. If he cannot earn my trust and do everything I want, I would never respect him. I would never trust him. When I say everything, I mean 99% to 100%. Everything. And that's highly unlikely. So, no, I don't mean him offering me diamonds and pearls and that. I mean, like, doing what I want and what God wants. Is that too much to ask? Yeah. I don't think a man like that exists. So that's how I close my video. On the note of Elijah and Elisha, in closing, I've had enough of them guilt tripping me, forcing me to be guilty. I'm not passive aggressive. I don't want bait for criticism or provoke or trigger anybody. I don't want to gaslight anyone by stopping a promise or praise. I don't want anyone to control my narrative on social media. Get off. It's not about you. It's about me. I want to be able to lock my playlist and not have somebody else unlock it and duplicate and copy my channel. And unfortunately, they've done everything that I don't want. It's my life. It's my self-worth. It's either my insecurity or my security. And it's also making the discernment of what's good and what is bad. So being forced by a gangster with a gun in my head, or corrupted government with prison sentence and police perverting things, is a persecution of a Christian. It's destroying somebody unfairly. And the last thing I want is some oversexed and overpegged pig chauvinist in the far right or far left boasting that his wifey or his side woman are going to set me up. I mean, you can't get any more pathetic than that. By death threats, which is appalling. No, I want something more appealing to my taste, to my discernment, to my sensitivity. Not the tyrant. It's not about you, so get off! And I found that in Elijah. I found that how he had to rebuke all the bad prophets of Baal in the 1 Kings chapter 17, and that's about my life here. And my daughter's similar to, because she's perverted it, she's similar to Solomon. So she's got her own life. She may find Jesus when she's 30 or 40 and may want to find me, but I would say, no, I don't want you to find me. If she came begging me, would I accept her? No. Not after the fact that she's ignored me for 5 years and disrespected me and humiliated me and rubbished her own mum and beat her own mum up by false accusations. It's not my fault that she was abused as a child. It's not my fault that I was abused as a child. It's neither of our faults. And yet the government has made it that way. Duh. Even spastics and people who are Down syndrome and disabled are more intelligent and more beautiful compared to you. Stupid judge. Or stupid police officer. You're so dumb. Go and accuse somebody innocent of crimes. Why don't you go and do something else, such as actually find real crimes and arrest them, idiot? Good for nothing, so-and-so. So they've corrupted my social media, so I'm in the category of Elijah threatening now that Jezebel witch. And as for my daughter, she originally had the anointing of Joseph that has now become a corruption. She's become a Solomon, someone who's a non-believer. Her worst fears have become a reality. She doesn't need her mum. She's got a surrogate mum. She's got a witch bitch there. She's replaced me with her boyfriend, and they said that I was a boy. I'm not a boy. Can't get any more degrading than that. And I blame all the celebrities, I blame all the Satanists, and I blame all the elitists. They're the ones who put their noses in where it doesn't belong. My social media is not about you. My table is not about you. My bank is not about you. It's human rights abuse. Get off, get off, get off. Why should I have death threats? Because I don't have the splendid uniform. It's so unfair. It's so outrageous. It's what I say, it's worse than death. It's like getting excited for nothing. Working so hard for nothing. As if I've never given birth. Stolen our birthright, stolen my land, stolen my civil rights and freedoms. They deserve to be slapped in the face, punched in the face, have their noses broken, have their limbs cut off. Bad, bad, bad. Unbelievable. In closing, I know that God has forgiven me for my mistakes. And I will be ashamed for my mistakes forever. I will regret my mistakes forever. And I know I don't deserve to be forgiven. I should have known better. And I didn't know any better. For marrying a monster. I will be ashamed forever. In closing this video, what I do know is that if I stay alive or if I die, have my life cut short, I I know I'm not guilty. But if my daughter comes to beg me or comes to want to reunite with me, I would then be guilty because I would say no. And that's why she may have forced herself on me on my social media. In secret. How she's lording over me, how she's beating me up emotionally. I've never done that to her. And if she says that I did, she's lying. And that's another reason why I would be guilty, because I have rejected her, disowned her. She's not my daughter. She's demon possessed. And it's not my responsibility to fix her soul, because I'm not a god. Only God can fix her. And only God knows the future. For now, I'm saying no. I don't know what the future is. I don't want to know what the future is. God could tell me what the future is, but I would say no. I would argue with God and say, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So that's how I close my video.